decided to join the United States Space Force. Congratulations. You've just volunteered to be part of the military branch that's younger than most TikTok trends and about as understood by the general public as quantum physics. But hey, at least you get to tell people you're literally a space warrior, even though the closest you'll get to space is watching Star Wars during mandatory fun time. Let's start with basic training, which is basically Air Force boot camp, but with more sci-fi references and confused looks from other branches. You'll quickly learn that despite the name Space Force, you'll be doing a lot of very terrestrial activities, like push-ups, running, and trying to explain to your family what exactly it is you do for a living. Your training instructors will remind you that you're guardians, which sounds super cool until you realize you're guarding satellites that are already in space while you're standing in a field in Texas. It's like being a lifeguard for a pool that's on the moon. But don't worry, they'll make sure you understand the critical importance of your mission by making you march in formation while chanting something about Semper Supra, which is Latin for always above, presumably referring to the altitude of your expectations versus reality. Now, let's talk about technical training, or as I'd like to call it, learning to turn space things on and off again. You'll master the ancient art of computer troubleshooting, which apparently is 90% of space operations. Who knew that protecting America's space assets mostly involved asking, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in to very expensive satellites? You'll spend countless hours staring at computer screens that look like something from 1995, monitoring dots that represent multi-million-dollar spacecraft. It's like playing the world's most expensive version of Pac-Man, except instead of eating dots, you're making sure the dots don't crash into other dots. And if one of those dots stops working, well, that's a problem for someone who makes way more money than you do. The uniforms, or should I say the I'm not Air Force I swear costume collection. You'll get to wear the same camis as everyone else, but with special Space Force patches that make you look like you're cosplaying as a discount astronaut. The best part, explaining to literally everyone you meet that no, you don't actually go to space. And yes, you're in a real military branch, not an elaborate prank by Netflix. Your dress uniform will make you look like you're about to attend the galaxy's most formal dinner party, complete with decorations that civilians will assume are participation trophies from Comic-Con. But hey, at least you'll be the most futuristic-looking person at your high school reunion. Welcome to the Space Operations Center, where you'll spend most of your career in a windowless room that could double as a really boring casino. You'll monitor satellites with names that sound like rejected Transformer characters. Guardian 7, this is Sentinel Prime. Do you copy? While drinking coffee that's older than the Space Force itself. You'll master the art of looking busy while essentially babysitting robots in space. Your daily routine will consist of checking that very expensive equipment is still doing what very expensive equipment is supposed to do, then filling out paperwork to confirm that you checked that the very expensive equipment is still working. It's like being a crossing guard for space highways that most people don't know exist. The real challenge isn't the job itself. It's explaining what you do to literally anyone. I'm in the Space Force will be met with everything from, oh, like Star Trek, to, wait, that's a real thing? Your parents will introduce you to their friends as their child who works with space, leaving everyone to assume you're either an astronaut or deeply delusional. Dating becomes particularly interesting when you have to explain that yes, you're in the military, no, you don't carry a gun, and no, you can't make their ex's car disappear via satellite laser. Probably. Nothing kills the mood. Quite like having to clarify that your space missions mostly involve PowerPoint presentations and making sure GPS still works. Working with other branches is always fun. The Army will ask if you can call down an orbital strike. The Navy will wonder if you're the reason their GPS is acting up. And the Marines will just look at you like you're speaking alien languages. Which, to be fair, half your job does involve acronyms that sound like they were invented by R2D2. The Air Force, meanwhile, will treat you like their weird little sibling, who moved out but keeps coming back to borrow money. Oh, you're Space Force now? That's cute. Remember when you used to be Air Force Space Command? Good times. Let's discuss equipment maintenance, or how to clean things that are literally unreachable. You'll become intimately familiar with ground equipment that talks to space equipment, which means you'll spend a lot of time maintaining the technological equivalent of a really expensive walkie-talkie. Your relationship with cable management will become deeply personal. You'll organize more cables than a Best Buy warehouse, all so that signals can travel to space and back at the speed of light. Because apparently, even in the final frontier, somebody has to deal with tangled cords, and have you checked all the connections? Physical training in the Space Force is particularly amusing. You'll do push-ups and run laps to stay in shape for a job that primarily involves sitting in chairs and clicking mice. It's like training to be a marathon runner, so you can be really good at chess. But hey, at least when the alien invasion comes, you'll be in great shape to run away from the computer terminals you couldn't fix. The PT tests are the same as everyone else's, which is funny, because your job performance is measured in uptime percentages and satellite orbital mechanics, not how many sit-ups you can do. But tradition is tradition, even in space. Deployment in the Space Force is unique. You'll deploy to exotic locations like Colorado Springs, or maybe Vandenberg. Sometimes, if you're really lucky, you might get to go somewhere with different weather patterns, like Nebraska. It's not exactly the International Space Station, but hey, at least you're still on the same planet as your family. Your deployment stories will be legendary. So there I was in a secure facility in Ohio, making sure a satellite over the Pacific was still transmitting data about weather patterns. It doesn't quite have the same ring as storming the beaches, but it's honest work. The best part about being in the Space Force is working with cutting-edge technology that's somehow simultaneously ultra-modern and completely obsolete. You'll use computer systems that can calculate orbital trajectories to the millimeter, but crash if you click too many buttons too fast. It's like having a Ferrari with square wheels. You'll become fluent in the ancient language of system error messages and develop the supernatural ability to make technology work simply by walking into the room, or more commonly, make it stop working the moment someone important shows up to see it. One of your exciting responsibilities will be monitoring space weather, which is exactly as thrilling as it sounds. You'll track solar flares and magnetic storms, like the world's nerdiest meteorologist. Folks, we've got a coronal mass ejection heading our way, so make sure to unplug your satellites before the space lightning hits. Your weather reports will sound like science fiction. Expect heavy radiation with a chance of electromagnetic interference, followed by clear solar winds through the weekend. Normal weathermen deal with rain. You deal with angry stars. The civilian world's understanding of the Space Force ranges from completely confused to wildly overestimating your abilities. People will ask if you've been to the moon, if you can see their house from space, or if you know any aliens. The disappointing truth that you mostly ensure their Netflix doesn't buffer isn't quite what they're looking for. You'll develop standard responses. No, we don't have ray guns. No, I can't move satellites to get better TV reception. And no, we haven't found aliens yet. But if we do, they'll probably need their computer systems debugged too. But let's talk benefits. You get all the standard military perks, plus the unique advantage of being in the branch that everyone's heard of, but nobody understands. Your resume will be a conversation starter for decades. Space Force? Tell me more about that. You'll also get the satisfaction of knowing that your work actually matters, even if most people think you spend your days playing cosmic video games. GPS, satellite TV, weather forecasting, communications. You're literally keeping civilization's technology running, one troubleshooting session at a time. The Space Force is growing, which means you're getting in on the ground floor of something that will probably be really important someday. Sure, right now it feels like being the first employee at a startup that might revolutionize everything or might just really good at making coffee. But hey, someone has to be the pioneers of the final frontier's IT department. You'll retire knowing you were a part of history, the first generation of Guardians who established the foundation for America's space operations. Your grandchildren will think it's really cool, even if they still don't quite understand what you actually did. Years later, when you're out and living civilian life, you'll have the unique experience of explaining your service to people who still aren't sure the Space Force was a real thing. You'll fondly remember the early days when everything was new. Nothing made complete sense, and you were all just figuring it out together. You'll miss the camaraderie of being part of something so new that you got to help write the traditions. And you'll definitely miss being able to casually mention that you were in the Space Force and watching people's faces as they tried to figure out if you were serious. So, to all you future Guardians out there, pack your sense of humor along with your computer skills. You're going to need both. Remember, The Space Force is like joining a really exclusive club that nobody quite understands yet, but everyone agrees. Sounds pretty cool. You may not be Luke Skywalker, but you're the reason Luke Skywalker's GPS would work in a galaxy far, far away. And hey, at least you're not in the Coast Guard trying to explain what maritime law has to do with the national security.